I recently did an interview with Harvard Business Review about what people are really doing when they're on a conference call on their telephone. And they looked at some data from Intercall and found out that people are doing all kinds of other things while they're on the phone, like reading their email or eating their lunch or exercising even. And some people were on a beach while they were on conference calls. So it raises the question, is there a problem with where people are doing conference calls, or does doing a conference call on a telephone that is mobile differ from doing a landline call? So I wanted to talk about that today. The first thing I would say is that there is a very big difference between being on your cell phone and being on a landline with a headset. And I recommend to people who do conference calls regularly to get in the habit of using a headset, because a headset just kind of locks you in a little bit more to that call. You can hear it better, and you're not on the kind of headphones that you might have with your mobile phone. So if at all possible, use a landline and use a headset. The second thing that I recommend to people is, if at all possible, use video. Video allows you to feel more like a participant in the conference call, and it's not that hard to do with Skype today and with other forms of communication like Apple provides for such conference calls. So I would recommend trying those before we get started with anything else. But the most important thing to realize is it really doesn't matter where the person is doing the call, whether they're in their pajamas or on the beach in a bathing suit. If they're tuned into the call, they're tuned into the call. And I've been on calls in places that are about as bizarre as anyone else, and been totally dedicated to what's going on. And I've been sitting at my desk in my office right here and not been engaged at all. So what are the things that the person who's organizing the conference call have to think about to make sure someone like me is totally engaged in the call? The first is, make sure you get all of the details right ahead of time. Set up a bridge, make sure we have the right numbers, give us an agenda ahead of time. Too many of the calls that I'm on, no agenda, no bridge, the number's wrong. You end up spending 20 minutes just trying to get into the call. So get all the details out of the way. The second thing is, I like to tell people, participate in the call even if you're not asked to. About 10 minutes into every call, just ask yourself, is there some way I can show that I'm still here and contributing? Because people will forget that you're on that call if you don't remind them. So always say something crisp and interesting while you're on the call. I think that's a big and important habit to get into. And then finally, realize that conference calls often, like memos and meetings and everything else, and emails that have lots of CCs on them, include people who really don't need to be there. I usually find my mind wandering on calls when I'm in a call that I shouldn't be on. Not because I'm bored with the topic, not because I'm bored with the people, because there's no reason for me to be there and someone forced me to be on a telephone call, usually in a client situation for me. So please, make sure that people have to be on the call. Make sure your agenda is set up. Make sure the device that you're using is something that allows people to feel like they're involved. And finally, limit the number of conference calls that you have in your life. It'll make your life much better in the long run.